The fluorescent lights of Chicago O'Hare International Airport hummed overhead, casting harsh shadows across thousands of travelers. 8-year-old Lena Brooks stood beside her father in the security checkpoint line, her pink backpack heavy with books and her favorite stuffed rabbit. She couldn't hear the cacophony around her, the rolling suitcases, the overhead announcements, the crying babies, but she could feel the vibrations through the floor, the anxious energy of people running late. Mark Brooks, her father, rested one hand protectively on Lena's shoulder. At 36, the former Army rescue specialist still carried himself with military precision, though his eyes had softened considerably since becoming a single parent. They were heading to Detroit to visit Lena's grandmother for Thanksgiving, a trip they made twice a year. Lena's attention drifted across the crowd as they shuffled forward. Her speech therapist always said she was more observant than other children, that losing one sense had sharpened the others. Right now, those sharp eyes caught something that made her freeze. 20 feet away, near the priority lane, a woman in an expensive camel coat gripped the hand of a young girl. The girl looked about 10, with tangled blonde hair and clothes that didn't quite fit. But it wasn't the mismatched outfit that caught Lena's attention, it was the girl's face. While the woman smiled and chatted with a TSA agent, the girl's eyes darted frantically, her free hand trembling at her side. Then Lena saw it. Behind her back, hidden from the woman's view, the girl's small fingers moved deliberately. H-E-L-P. The sign language was shaky, unpracticed, but unmistakable. Lena's breath caught. She tugged hard on her father's sleeve. Mark looked down, his brow furrowing as Lena began signing rapidly, her hands moving with urgent precision. "Dad. That girl, she's signing help." "Something's wrong." Mark followed his daughter's gaze, skepticism flickering across his face. He'd learned American Sign Language fluently after Lena was diagnosed with profound hearing loss at age 2, and he knew his daughter was bright. But children sometimes misread situations. "Are you sure, sweetheart? Maybe she's just playing." Lena's jaw set in that stubborn way he recognized. She locked eyes with the blonde girl across the distance and signed clearly. "Are you okay?" The girl's response was immediate. Her fingers spelled out N-O, with such force that her whole hand shook. Then, more urgently, S-C-A-R-E-D. Mark's military training kicked in instantly. His pulse steadied, even as his mind raced. He pulled Lena aside, out of the main line, his eyes never leaving the woman and child. The woman was now hurrying the girl through the metal detector, her grip tight on the child's wrist. Too tight. "Stay close to me," Mark signed to Lena, then added verbally for the hearing world around them. "We're going to help her." The girl glanced back once more before disappearing into the crowd beyond security. Lena saw tears streaming down her face. And in that moment, she knew with absolute certainty that girl needed them. Mark quickly texted his boarding pass to his phone and ushered Lena through security with practiced efficiency. His mind cataloged details automatically: the woman's distinctive coat, the girl's purple sneakers, the direction they'd headed. Gate Area C. He kept his distance but maintained visual contact, pulling Lena along at a brisk walk. Lena's small hand clutched his tightly as she signed one-handed. "The lady is mean. I can see it." "Tell me what you see," Mark signed back, slowing their pace to appear casual. Lena's observations were precise. "The woman keeps looking around. Nervous. The girl tried to pull away when they stopped at the coffee shop. The woman grabbed her arm hard. Left red marks." Mark's jaw tightened. Lena's visual acuity had always been exceptional, but he needed to verify before taking action. False accusations could ruin lives, but hesitation could cost one. He activated his phone's camera and began filming discreetly, capturing the woman's increasingly aggressive body language as she yanked the girl toward a departure board. They found an empty seat with a clear sight line. Mark watched as the woman made a phone call, her expression darkening. The girl stood motionless beside her, head down, shoulders hunched. Every few seconds, her hand would drift upward in small, aborted movements, as if signing had become an involuntary response to fear. Mark approached a TSA supervisor near the gate area, a middle-aged black man with kind eyes and sergeant stripes on his uniform. "Excuse me, sir. I need to report something urgent." The supervisor, whose badge read Williams, turned with practiced patience. "How can I help you?" "That woman in the camel coat with the young girl, I have reason to believe the child is in distress. My daughter witnessed her signing for help in ASL." Williams glanced over, his expression skeptical but professional. "Did you see any physical altercation?" "My daughter is deaf. She's been trained to read situations visually." The girl signed help and scared. "I have some video footage." Williams examined the footage on Mark's phone, but in the shaky recording, the signs weren't clear. "I see a woman and child, but nothing definitive. Could be a difficult family situation. Maybe the kid doesn't want to fly." "Unless there's evidence of immediate danger, the girl's hands are the evidence," Mark interrupted, frustration mounting. "She's communicating in the only way she can," Williams sighed. "Look, I sympathize. But I can't detain someone based on hand gestures a child made. If you see actual abuse or restraint, call 911. Otherwise, my hands are tied." Mark felt Lena's urgent tugging. She was signing frantically. "They're moving, going to ticket counter." Across the terminal, the woman was indeed marching the girl toward the international ticket desk. Her phone pressed to her ear, her movements quick and decisive. Mark's combat instinct screamed warnings. International meant jurisdiction issues. International meant harder to track. International meant time was running out. He pulled out his phone and dialed 911. The 911 operator's voice was calm and methodical. "What is your emergency?" "I'm at O'Hare Airport, Terminal 2, Gate C-18. I'm witnessing what I believe is a child abduction in progress. A woman is attempting to board an international flight with a girl who's signaling for help. Can you describe the individuals?" Mark's words came fast and precise, his military training evident. "White female, approximately 40 years old, 5'7", camel-colored wool coat, black pants, brown leather bag. The child is approximately 10 years old. Blonde. Wearing jeans and a purple jacket. Purple sneakers. The woman is currently at the international ticket counter attempting to change or purchase tickets. Are you certain the child is in danger?" The child used sign language to signal help and scared to my deaf daughter. The woman is displaying controlling behavior, tight grip on the child's wrist, preventing her from making eye contact with others. Nervous surveillance of her surroundings. I'm a former Army rescue specialist. I've seen trafficking situations. This has all the markers. There was a brief pause. Officers are being dispatched. Stay on the line and maintain visual contact, but do not approach. What's your location? We're near the coffee shop, about 40 feet from the ticket counter. Mark's eyes never left the woman and girl. Wait, she's finished at the counter. They're moving toward gate C-27. That's the gate for the Mexico City flight. Lena tugged his arm again, her face pale with worry. She signed, "We have to do something now. Please, Dad." Mark made a split-second decision that would change everything. "Lena, I need you to do something very brave. Do you remember what I taught you about helping people in danger?" She nodded, her dark eyes wide but determined. "I want you to approach that girl. Not the woman, just get close enough to sign to the girl. Ask her name. Ask if she knows the woman. Can you do that?" Lena's hands trembled slightly, but she signed back. "Yes, I'll be right behind you. If anything goes wrong, you run back to me immediately." The operator's voice crackled with alarm. "Sir, I advised you not to approach. My daughter is deaf. She can communicate with this child in a way no one else can. If we're wrong, we apologize. If we're right, we save a life." Mark ended the call and pocketed his phone. Together, they moved through the crowd. Mark's heart pounded, but his hands were steady as he signed to Lena. "You're the bravest person I know. Let's help her." Lena approached the gate area where the woman had sat down. the girl beside her. The woman was absorbed in her phone, typing rapidly. The girl stared at the floor, motionless except for the tears silently tracking down her cheeks. Lena stepped directly into the girl's line of sight and began to sign. Lena's hands moved slowly and clearly. "My name is Lena." "What is your name?" The girl's head snapped up, her eyes widening with a mixture of hope and terror. Her hands lifted automatically, forming the letters. M-I-A. "Mia," Lena signed back, a gentle smile on her face. "Are you safe?" Before Mia could respond, the woman's head jerked up. Her eyes cold and calculating fixed on Lena, then on Mark standing 10 feet behind. "What the hell are you doing talking to my daughter?" Mark stepped forward, his voice calm but authoritative. "Your daughter? She doesn't seem comfortable with you." The woman, her name tag from a conference lanyard, read Pamela Wade, stood abruptly, positioning herself between Mia and Lena. "This is none of your business." "Charlotte, come on, we're leaving." She said her name is Mia, Lena signed to Mark, who spoke the words aloud. Pamela's face flushed with anger. "Her name is Charlotte. She's my niece, and she's been acting out all day. Now if you don't leave us alone, I'll call security." "Please do," Mark said evenly. "In fact, they're already on their way." Mia seized the moment of distraction. Her hands flew in desperate, frantic signs toward Lena. "Not Aunt. Took me from school 3 days ago. Please help. She's taking me away." Lena's small voice rang out. High and clear, she rarely spoke aloud, self-conscious about her speech. But this was too important. She says, "You took her from school. She's not your niece." Heads turned, conversations paused. The bubble of privacy that airports usually provided burst. As nearby travelers began paying attention, Pamela's composure cracked. She grabbed Mia's arm hard, her fingernails digging into skin. "You little liar. I'm calling your mother right now to tell her what you've let go of her." Mark's voice dropped to a register that made hardened soldiers obey. He moved closer, his body language protective but non-threatening, aware of the growing audience. "You're hurting her. I don't have to listen to this." Pamela yanked Mia toward the gate entrance, but Mia had found her courage. She wrenched her arm free and ran to Lena, her hands signing wildly. "Pamela Wade. Took me from Pleasant Grove Elementary in Naperville. My real name is Mia Turner. My mom is Jennifer Turner. Please, please don't let her take me." Lena wrapped her arms around Mia as Mark positioned himself between them and Pamela. An airport security officer arrived, breathless. "What's going on here?" Pamela immediately shifted into a performance of wounded dignity. "This man is harassing me and my foster daughter. She has attachment issues and makes up stories for attention. I have all the paperwork. She's lying." Mia's voice was raw, breaking. "My name is Mia Turner. I live at 847 Maple Street, Naperville. My phone number is 630-555-0147. My mom's birthday is April 12th. I have a birthmark on my left shoulder, shaped like Michigan. Check. Please check." The security officer's expression shifted from annoyed to alert. He spoke into his radio. "I need a supervisor and police backup at gate C27 immediately. Possible child welfare situation." Pamela's mask of composure was slipping, her eyes darting toward the exits. Within 3 minutes, gate C27 was swarming with personnel. 2 Chicago police officers arrived first, followed by airport security supervisors, and then, moving with purposeful authority, a woman in a dark suit with an FBI badge clipped to her belt. Special Agent Diana Ruiz was 41, with sharp features softened by intelligent brown eyes. She'd been in the airport on an unrelated matter when the alert came through her phone. Possible child abduction in progress. She assessed the situation in seconds, the terrified girl clinging to a small deaf child, the protective father, and the woman whose body language screamed guilt. "I'm Special Agent Ruiz with the FBI." "Nobody moves." Her voice carried authority that made everyone freeze. She turned to Mia first, crouching to eye level. "Sweetheart, can you tell me your name?" "Mia Turner," the girl whispered. Ruiz's hands moved into sign language fluid. Practiced. She'd learned ASL for a case years ago, and maintained it. "Can you tell me in your hands?" Mia's eyes widened in surprise. Then her fingers spelled out, "MIATURNER. Ruiz nodded and stood, pulling out her phone. She typed rapidly, accessing FBI databases. Her expression tightened. "There's an Amber Alert. Mia Turner, age 10. Missing from Naperville for 72 hours. Last seen near Pleasant Grove Elementary." She looked at Pamela. "And you are?" "Pamela Wade. I'm her father's cousin. There's been a family misunderstanding. Jennifer Turner, Mia's mother, reported her daughter missing after she didn't come home from school. There is no mention of any custodial arrangement with a Pamela Wade." Ruiz's tone was ice. "Ma'am, place your hands behind your back. This is ridiculous. I have rights. You have the right to remain silent." The handcuffs clicked into place as a female officer secured Pamela. "Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." Pamela's face contorted with rage as she was led away, still protesting. But Mia wasn't watching her anymore. She had turned to Lena, her hands shaking as she signed. "Thank you. You saw me. Nobody else saw me." Lena signed back. "I see you. You're safe now." Agent Ruiz approached Mark, her expression a mix of respect and concern. "Sir, what you did was incredibly risky, but you may have just saved this child's life. I need full statements from both of you." Mark nodded, his arm around Lena's shoulders. "Of course. But first, can you help us contact Mia's mother?" Ruiz was already dialing. "She's been notified. She's driving here now from Naperville." She looked down at Lena, then signed. "You are very brave, very smart. Thank you for seeing what others missed." Lena's response was simple. "Silent doesn't mean invisible." Those words would echo through the terminal, through the news reports, through the hearts of everyone who heard what happened that day. The interrogation rooms at the FBI's Chicago field office were deliberately bland gray walls, fluorescent lighting, a table bolted to the floor. Pamela Wade sat on one side, her lawyer on the other, while Agent Ruiz and her partner conducted the interview. "Mrs. Wade, we've searched your home and vehicle. We found passports for 6 different children, none of whom are related to you. We found communication records with individuals in 3 countries. We found financial transactions indicating payment for goods delivered." Ruiz's voice was clinically cold. "This goes far beyond simple kidnapping." Pamela said nothing, but her lawyer cleared his throat. "My client wishes to cooperate in exchange for consideration during sentencing." 3 hours later, Ruiz emerged from the interrogation with a migraine and a list of 17 other children who'd been trafficked through Pamela's network over the past 4 years. Some had been recovered. Others remained missing. The case would make national headlines. "Airport trafficking ring broken by deaf child's observation." But for Mark and Lena Brooks, the aftermath was quieter and more complicated. They sat in the airport's administrative office. Lena curled in an oversized chair, exhausted. Mia had been reunited with her mother, a tearful, grateful woman who'd hugged Lena so tightly, Mark worried his daughter would break. Jennifer Turner had promised to stay in touch, to let the girls talk. But for now, mother and daughter needed time alone. "You did an incredible thing," Agent Ruiz said, sitting across from Mark while Lena dozed. "But I need you to understand something. What you both witnessed today, what Lena saw that's going to stay with her. Children who intervene in traumatic situations often experience secondary trauma." Mark nodded slowly. "I know. I've seen it in combat zones with young interpreters. They hold it together during the crisis, then fall apart after. Watch for nightmares, withdrawal, hypervigilance. She might start seeing danger everywhere. Ruiz handed him a card. "This is a therapist who specializes in child trauma and is fluent in ASL. I want you to call her this week." "I will." Mark glanced at his sleeping daughter. "She's stronger than people think. But I won't let her carry this alone." Ruiz smiled slightly. "She has a good father. That matters more than you know." They missed their flight to Detroit. By the time they rebooked and boarded an evening departure, Lena was awake but subdued. She signed only when necessary, her usual expressiveness dimmed. On the plane, as they climbed through the darkness toward cruising altitude, Mark tapped Lena's shoulder. When she turned, he signed, "I'm proud of you. Not for being a hero, for being someone who sees other people. That's who you are. That's who you'll always be." Lena's eyes filled with tears. And she signed back. Was she really going to hurt Mia? "Yes," Mark signed honestly. "But she didn't. Because you stopped her. Will Mia be okay?" "I don't know," Mark admitted. "But she has a chance now. Because of you." Lena leaned against her father's shoulder. And for the first time that day, she felt the weight begin to lift. Not disappear, never fully disappear, but shift into something bearable. Below them, Chicago's lights spread like fallen stars, and somewhere in those lights, Mia Turner was safe at home. 3 weeks passed before Lena asked to see Mia again. The therapist doctor, Sharon Ellis, a patient woman in her 50s with warm hazel eyes, had been working with Lena twice a week, helping her process what she'd witnessed. The nightmares had been brutal at first. Lena would wake signing help over and over, her small hands moving frantically in the darkness until Mark held them still and turned on the lights. But Dr. Ellis explained that Lena's desire to reconnect with Mia was actually a positive sign. She wants to see the outcome of her actions. She needs to know that her intervention mattered, that Mia is genuinely okay. Jennifer Turner welcomed the visit with careful enthusiasm. She'd been attending family therapy with Mia, who was struggling with PTSD, trust issues, and survivor's guilt. The 10-year-old barely spoke anymore, communicating primarily through writing and occasional whispers. The meeting took place at a family counseling center in Naperville. Neutral ground with play therapy rooms and trained staff nearby. When Lena and Mark arrived, Mia sat in a corner chair, her blonde hair freshly braided, her eyes downcast. Lena approached slowly, then knelt in front of Mia and signed, "Hi. Remember me?" Mia's head lifted. Her hands moved hesitantly. "Lena, you saved me." "No." Lena signed firmly. "You saved yourself. You asked for help. I just saw you." Something shifted in Mia's expression. She'd been carrying the weight of her own kidnapping, as though it were her fault for walking alone, for not fighting harder, for freezing when Pamela first grabbed her. But Lena's words offered a different narrative. "You were brave enough to signal. That was enough." The girls sat together on the floor, and Lena began teaching Mia more sign language. Not because Mia needed to learn, though Jennifer thought it might be helpful, but because it gave them a shared language of survival. Mia's hands were clumsy at first, but Lena was patient, correcting gently, encouraging constantly. "This is friend," Lena demonstrated, her hands crossing over her heart. Mia copied the gesture, and a small smile appeared, the first Jennifer had seen in 3 weeks. Mark and Jennifer watched from across the room, speaking in low voices. "She hasn't smiled since it happened," Jennifer admitted, tears threatening. "The police, the interviews, the medical exams, she just shut down. But with Lena, she's trying." "Lena needed this too," Mark said. "She's been having nightmares. Seeing Mia okay, seeing her laugh, that might help both of them heal." By the end of the hour, the girls had filled 3 pages of a notebook with sign language vocabulary and simple drawings. Mia had signed "thank you" 17 times. Lena had responded each time with the same sign. "Friend." As they left, Mia suddenly called out, her voice rough from disuse but clear. "Lena, can you come back?" Lena turned, her face bright with hope, and signed, "Yes, I promise." Over the following months, The relationship between the Brooks and Turner families deepened in unexpected ways. What began as survivor connection evolved into genuine friendship. Jennifer, a single mother working as a pediatric nurse, found solace in Mark's steady presence and shared understanding of single parenthood. Mark, who'd been navigating Lena's world alone since his wife's death from cancer 4 years earlier, appreciated Jennifer's medical knowledge and her patient approach to trauma. But the real bond formed between the girls. They began having weekly video calls, Lena teaching ASL, Mia teaching Lena to draw. Mia's therapist encouraged the friendship, noting that Mia expressed emotions more freely through signing than she did through speech. Something about the visual, physical nature of ASL bypassed her verbal trauma responses. By spring, Jennifer proposed something ambitious, a weekend camping trip to Starved Rock State Park. Mia needs to reclaim normal childhood experiences, she explained to Mark over coffee, while the girls played in the next room. But I'm terrified to take her anywhere public. With you there, someone who understands both security and trauma, I think we could do it. The camping trip became a turning point. Mark taught both girls to build a fire, identify constellations, and read trail markers. Jennifer packed enough snacks for an army and fussed over sunscreen. But the real magic happened on the second night. Sitting around the campfire, Mia, who still struggled with verbal expression, began signing her story to Lena. The signs were clumsy, mixed with English grammar, but the meaning was clear. 3 days of captivity in a basement. The terror of not knowing if anyone would find her. The moment she'd remembered her friend at school teaching her the sign for help. I kept thinking, Mia signed, her face illuminated by firelight. If I could just tell someone. If someone could just understand. And then you did. You saw me when I was invisible, Lena signed back. You were never invisible. People just weren't looking. Mark and Jennifer sat nearby, not interrupting, letting the girls process in their own language. Later that night, after the girls had fallen asleep in their tent, Jennifer spoke quietly. Do you think they'll always carry this? What happened? Yes, Mark said honestly. But maybe they'll carry it together. That's better than carrying it alone. By summer, Mia had made remarkable progress. She'd returned to school, started piano lessons, and even testified via video conference at Pamela Wade's trial. The woman received a 40-year sentence for child trafficking, kidnapping, and conspiracy. 16 other children were identified and recovered as part of the broader investigation. Lena and Mia created a project for Lena's school, Silent Signals, a poster campaign teaching basic ASL signs for help, danger, and call police. Their teacher submitted it to a state competition, where it won first place. The campaign was adopted by 3 school districts and printed in airports across Illinois. At the awards ceremony, Mia stood beside Lena on stage. When asked to speak, Mia signed instead, and Lena voiced for her. We learned that silence isn't emptiness. Sometimes silence is where the truth lives. You just have to know how to see it. The audience rose in a standing ovation, their applause a vibration that both girls could feel through the floor. 1 year and 3 months after the incident at O'Hare, the Brooks and Turner families returned to the airport together. This time, it was for a vacation, a trip to Washington, D.C., to visit the Smithsonian and the Gallaudet University campus, the nation's premier institution for deaf and hard-of-hearing students. Jennifer had suggested it after Lena expressed interest in seeing a place where sign language was the primary mode of communication. Mark felt his shoulders tense as they entered Terminal 2. Memories flooded back. The crowds, the urgency, the moment he'd dialed 911. He glanced at Lena, concerned. But she seemed calm. She held Mia's hand, the 2 girls chattering in sign language about which museums they wanted to visit first. They passed through security without incident, but as they walked toward their gate, Lena slowed. She'd spotted the coffee shop near Gate C18, the exact location where she'd first seen Mia signaling for help. Mia noticed too. Her grip on Lena's hand tightened. Without speaking, they walked together to the spot where Pamela Wade had once stood. The gate area looked different now. New paint, rearranged seating, but the geography was the same. Mark and Jennifer hung back, letting the girls have their moment. Lena signed to Mia. "Are you okay?" Mia nodded slowly, then signed back. "I used to have nightmares about this place. But now I'm standing here with you. With people who love me." She didn't win. No, Lena agreed. She didn't. They stood in silence for a moment, not an uncomfortable silence, but a peaceful one. Then Mia raised her hands and signed something she'd been practicing with her therapist. "Thank you for seeing me when I couldn't make noise. Thank you for hearing me when I couldn't speak." Lena's response was immediate. "I didn't hear you. I saw you. And you saw me too. We saw each other." The distinction mattered. So much of Lena's life had been about people trying to fix her hearing, about being defined by what she lacked rather than what she possessed. But in that moment at the airport a year ago, her deafness hadn't been a disability. It had been exactly what Mia needed. Someone who understood that communication transcended sound. Jennifer approached and gently touched both girls' shoulders. "Our flight's boarding in 20 minutes. Ready?" The girls nodded. But before they left, Lena pulled something from her backpack, a disposable camera she'd brought for the trip. "Can we take a picture here?" They posed together in front of Gate C-18, Lena and Mia in front, Mark and Jennifer behind them. Right before the timer flashed, both girls raised their hands in the sign. For love, two fists crossed over their hearts. Later, when they developed the photo, Mark would frame it. Beneath it, he'd add a small plaque with words Lena had written. "Where silence saved a life, friendship began." 6 months later, Agent Diana Ruiz stood at a podium in the FBI's Chicago field office, addressing a conference on human trafficking prevention. Behind her, a screen displayed statistics that made the audience shift uncomfortably. Hundreds of children trafficked through airports annually, most in plain sight, most never identified. "I want to tell you about a case that changed how we approach these situations," Ruiz began. She clicked to a photo of O'Hare Airport. 1 year ago, we broke a trafficking ring that had operated successfully for 4 years, moving children across international borders. The perpetrator had a foolproof system. She chose victims carefully, traveled at busy times, and relied on the fact that most people don't intervene when they see something concerning. Another click. But she didn't account for an 8-year-old deaf girl named Lena Brooks, who understood that communication exists beyond sound, who saw what others heard, but didn't see. The screen showed a blurred image of Lena and Mia at the gate, taken from security footage. Lena Brooks didn't just see a girl in distress, she saw the girl's hands. She recognized sign language most people don't even know exists. And she convinced her father, a former military rescue specialist, to act, despite institutional resistance. Ruiz paused, her voice growing thick with emotion. Mia Turner was hours away from being transported to Mexico. From there, the trail would have gone cold. Statistics suggest she would have disappeared into a network we're still trying to dismantle. Instead, she's at home. She's in therapy. She's learning piano. She's alive and safe because one child was paying attention. The audience was silent, absorbed. Ruiz continued, "This case taught us 3 critical lessons. First, trust children. When a child reports something is wrong, investigate thoroughly. Second, train people to recognize nonverbal distress signals. We now include basic ASL in our trafficking awareness programs. Third, understand that heroes don't always look the way we expect. Sometimes they're 8 years old. Sometimes they can't hear. Sometimes they're the only ones who can see the truth." She clicked to a final slide, a recent photo of Lena and Mia at the Gallaudet University campus, both smiling, their hands mid-sign. These girls now speak at schools, teaching silent signals, a program that's been adopted nationwide. They've helped identify 3 other children in distress situations. They've proven that awareness saves lives. Ruiz's voice softened. "In my 20 years with the Bureau, I've seen a lot of darkness. But I've also seen this. A deaf child who saw what others couldn't. a father who believed his daughter, a victim who found the courage to signal for help, and a friendship born from trauma that's now helping others survive theirs. She ended with a question that hung in the air. When was the last time you really looked at the people around you? When was the last time you saw someone who wasn't making noise but desperately needed to be heard? The applause began slowly, then built not the polite golf clap of conferences, but genuine, moved recognition.